DD India in your country. Available for downlink in all Southeast Asian countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 10 at 83 degrees east. For technical details, log on to ddnews.gov.in. Switch to DD India now.
Namaste land.
مرحبا إلى الهند.
زري إنديا.
سلام إنديا.
नमस्ते इंडिया.
नमस्कार भारत.
मुई
Nous
India.
sommes l'Inde.
نحن هنود.
إنديا.
माँ हिंदी हस्ती
مون هنديان يو.
सलाम हिंदुस्तान।
We are India.
और इस गीत के बाद
छाया गीत
All India Radio.
But won the first prize.
बहुत रोमांटिक रही है.
Ahead of the trade negotiations that are slated,
दिवस के साथ
it has undergone 9 revisions. Cully, with 903 rating points, is 34 points behind Smith. 900.
This is All India Radio. The news read by Anuja Kumar. नमस्कार.
A global pandemic that's causing havoc worldwide. Search for an effective vaccine is on. Until then, the only option is caution and prevention. Now that the country has opened up under Unlock 5, it's all the more critical that we don't let our guard down. Face mask has been found to be the most effective means to fight the spread of COVID-19. World Health Organization and various researchers have also found that masks are critical in mitigating the spread of COVID-19. When you wear a mask, you protect yourself and people around you. Wearing a face mask helps prevent the spread of COVID-19, but only if worn properly.
बिना मास्क या फेस कवर के घर से बाहर निकलने की अभी कल्पना करना भी सही नहीं है.
Be a part of DD India campaign. Mask Up India. Come and join our initiative to fight COVID-19. Share your stories of masking up with us on Facebook and Twitter.
Mask Up India.
It's a simple task. Just wear a mask.
Mask Up India.
Hello and welcome. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran and you're watching Newsnight on DD India, your primetime destination for news and bespoke analysis. It's good to see you again. All right, on the show tonight, farmers' protest turns ugly and violent. The capital was held to ransom on Tuesday as a mob took the law into its own hands and left behind a trail of destruction in its wake. We tell you what happened, how, why and what the violent turn of events means for the 62-day-old farmers' agitation. Also on the show, India celebrated 72nd Republic Day. We get you glimpses of the functions that were held in New Delhi, state capitals and Indian diplomatic missions abroad. Plus, news from India and the world, all that and much more coming up over the next 1 hour. But first, as always, the headlines. Mob of protesters go on a rampage in the capital Delhi, breaks barricades, attacks police, all in the garb of a farmers' protest. Police acts with restraint. Home Minister Amit Shah reviews the situation. India's military might and economic progress on full display at the 72nd Republic Day celebrations at the majestic Rajpath in New Delhi. The Rafale fighter jets take part in the parade for the first time, perform a flypast. President Ramnath Kovind hosts an at-home on the occasion of Republic Day. Vice President, Prime Minister, Defence and Foreign Ministers, the Chief of Defence Staff and all 3 service chiefs attend. A marching contingent from the Bangladesh Armed Forces takes part in the Republic Day parade for the first time. Bangladesh is celebrating 50 years of its independence this year. Republic Day celebrations held in the capital of states and union territories. A parade and cultural events mark the occasion. Public welfare initiatives announced. India notches up another success in its fight against COVID-19. Daily cases fall below the 10,000 mark for the first time in 7 months, a further drop in the mortality rate as well. And in its latest World Economic Outlook update for January, the International Monetary Fund has forecast global growth for 2021 at 5.5%, 0.3 percentage points higher than its October forecast. India's growth forecast for FY22 revised significantly. Indian economy seen growing by 11.5% in FY22. Right, let me dive straight into our cover story. What was supposed to be a peaceful protest turned out to be anything but peaceful. A mob went on a rampage in the capital, ostensibly in protest against new agricultural laws. It indulged in wanton violence and destruction of public property. All this on a day when the nation celebrated 72nd Republic Day. Here's a report.
While the nation was celebrating the 72nd Republic Day, many parts of the capital city of Delhi were witnessing scenes of unruly mobs going berserk atop tractors and vandalizing national symbols and disrespecting the law of the land. The tractor rally that was meant to be a peaceful form of protest went off the track and caused utter mayhem at Red Fort. One of the protesters climbed the flag post at the Red Fort and hoisted a flag in utter contempt of national traditions and customs. We will come back to the act which put the entire country to shame at Red Fort But first, let us have a look at some other visuals which have exposed the so-called claims of a peaceful tractor rally by the farmers. Many places in the capital witnessed stone pelting, vandalism and arson by the protesters, be it the Meerut Expressway, the Akshardham Temple crossing at National Highway 24, ITO crossing, Mukarba Chowk in northwest Delhi, Nangloi, Mayur Vihar or Tikri border. Everywhere, the story was the same, the scenes were the same. Unruly mob hell-bent on violence in utter disregard to the promises made to the authorities. First, let's talk about the Delhi-Ghaziabad border. Farmers were given permission to enter the periphery of the city for their tractor rally on Republic Day after a court battle. It was supposed to be a peaceful rally with a designated route that was agreed upon by all. Crowds, however, swelled at the borders at around 8 am even before the parade started at the Rajpath, and thousands entered the national capital on foot. The route agreed upon was not followed at all. Police tried to stop the agitators near Pandav Nagar on the National Highway 24, but there too the protesters targeted the police picket itself and even tried to attack the policemen with weapons, and then they proceeded further. When the protesters reached the Akshardham temple, they defied police barricades and marched on towards the busy intersection of the ITO. At the ITO crossing, the violent protesters wanted to proceed towards the India Gate area, as the police could not have allowed that at any cost. Heavy violence ensued in the areas, and protesters were seen fighting pitched battles with the policemen there. Some of the protesters even tried to run over the policemen with their tractors, an audacious act to even contemplate in the national capital. The protesters deliberately ran the tractors in top speed towards the policemen in a threatening manner. When the police tried to stop them by placing DTC buses on the road, the protesters removed them after repeatedly banging their tractors on the buses.
The clash between the police and these particular hooligans, I don't want to even call them farmers, they are hooligans, and this is definitely not the tractor rally, this is the chaos rally they have created. They're trying to force their way into the national capital, and the resulting in the destruction of the public property.
Thousands of protesters reached the Red Fort area after breaking through barricades, attacking policemen with sticks and other weapons, and deviating from the agreed route. Visuals of protesters hoisting their flags at the flag post at the iconic Red Fort were captured by the cameras. The protesters simply barged their way through all the barricades. Some protesters hoisted a sacred flag at the second flagpole. Thousands of protesters stood at the huge gates of Red Fort, and the policemen were not allowed to enter. The police were seen trying to control the crowd in vain. Later, the police removed the flags. The protesting farmers at Singhu and Tikri borders also broke through the barricades and entered Delhi even before the time allotted for the rally. After that, some of the protesters sat in a dharna at Mukarba Chowk in northwest Delhi. There, they tried to go past police barricades, and violent clashes with the police ensued. They also vandalized public property and DTC buses. Almost similar scenes were witnessed at Nangloi. There also the tractor rally became a violent march, and protesters broke all the barricades and went berserk. To stop them, the police, including the lady jawans, had to virtually sit on the road.
उग्र किसान थे, उन्होंने क्या किया, उन्होंने ट्रैक्टर से लोगों को, पुलिस वालों को, सुरक्षा बलों को कुचलने की कई जगह कोशिश की गई, बैरिकेड्स तोड़ दिए गए, जो हमारे बसेज थी, पुलिस की बसेज थी, उनको तोड़ दिया गया, और इस तरीके से व्यापक पैमाने पे तोड़फोड़ की और नुकसान किया। इस तरह से असॉल्ट हुआ है पब्लिक सर्वेंट्स के ऊपर, जो पुलिस बल के ऊपर, उसमें जो भी लीगल एक्शन बनता है वो निश्चित तौर पे लिया जाएगा।
Similar scenes were seen at the Canal bypass, and protesters there also clashed with the police. Meanwhile, the Delhi metro services were also affected as a result of violence in the city. The exit and entry gates were closed in many nearby stations. The authorities also suspended internet services in some area for some time as a result. The tractor rally was supposed to be a symbolic act of peaceful protest to highlight their demands. Rather, it left a trail of destruction of public property, ugly visuals of act of violence and vandalism, and utter disrespect for the sanctity of national symbols and monuments. Delhi was kept on tenterhooks by the protesting farmers as the police struggled to take control of the situation and restore law and order. 3 routes were cleared for the farmers to hold the parade. 63-kilometer route near Singhu border, 62.5-kilometer long route from Tikri border, and a 68-kilometer long route from Ghazipur border. With bureau inputs, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Right, and joining me on Newsnight is my colleague Vishal Baristo. Vishal, it's been a long day, I can imagine, so thank you for joining us on Newsnight. Now, if you could recap for the benefit of our viewers who might be tuning in just now, where were you this afternoon? What did you see happen around you for those several hours when things took an ugly turn? Help our viewers understand how and why did things get so ugly?
Very good evening to you, Ramesh. Before I answer to your question, I can only say that I'm ashamed. The day will go in the history as a very tragic day. It has scarred our national pride. From the very childhood, I've been waiting for this day, watching the parade on the Rajpath and the tricolour proudly carrying on the tricolour. But today, the way the tricolour was misused and carried by the hooligans who call themselves farmers is a very sad thing. I was there at the ITO, and let me tell you that we narrowly escaped their attack. One of our colleagues was nearly got hit, and it's going to be a very, very sad day for all of us, because the way they behaved, they did not follow any rules and regulations. They were time and again instigating violence. They were challenging the police authorities, asking provoking violence, and the way they behaved, they damaged the public property, the taxpayers' money. They did not care, they did not bother, and what all they did is visible on the screen. So it was a very, very long day, and we were hoping that things would settle down, but it did settle after 5 p.m., but by then the damage had already been done. So it's a very sad day, and with all responsibility I can say, Ramesh, that I'm ashamed that I was part of that act, reporting, because I was feeling very, very bad what the world would say, because India has always celebrated this day with all pride, and this is our national festival. Ramesh?
Indeed. And Vishal, have the road been cleared at ITO, and has traffic been restored? What are you picking up? What's the latest on the ground?
Yes, as I reported that the roads were cleared after 5 p.m. and one farmer who was trying his antics on the tractor unfortunately died in an accident, and the farmers tried to create a scene there. They sat with the body, and for some time they were trying to provoke more violence. They had already vandalized the buses, the properties, the railings, everything was damaged. But then the police did not lose its calm, and hats off to Delhi police, because they were maintaining all restraint. And by evening 5 p.m. things were appearing to look good, and by now, as I speak to you, the roads are clear, and thankfully all that remains is the destruction, but the road is clear now.
Indeed, so Delhi police showed extreme restraint, says my colleague Vishal Baristo. Vishal, thank you for filling us in, appreciate it. Right, and time now for our In Focus segment, in which we are discussing about who indulged in violence in the name of farmers' protest. Who indulged in violence in the name of farmers' protest? That's our In Focus topic for Newsnight tonight. And joining me are two very special guests, Sanjay Kumar Singh, senior journalist, and Prafulla Kethkar, editor, Organizer Weekly. Gentlemen, welcome to Newsnight. I want to ask the same question to both our guests, starting with you, Prafulla Kethkar. Who do you think indulged in violence in the name, in the garb of farmers' protest? Help our viewers understand what you make of it.
Ramesh, you know, it was a Republic Day, and I see this as an attempt to make assault on our Republic. Because we, the people of India, you know, celebrate this day as a mark of our commitment to our constitutional values, commitment to our unity and integrity, our defense forces, the sacrifices of our soldiers. And the way, you know, some organizations pitch, you know, the Kisan against Jawans, it was a really, really disturbing scene. And I see this as a pattern. This is a pattern by certain forces to create anarchy. I would not like to name them as farmers. Simply because, you know, if you see the entire narration that has been built up around the farm laws and the way systematic build-up has been, done to manufacture this protest. Till now, everybody wanted to believe that this was peaceful. But the fact is, while they were reaching to Delhi, and even after, many mobile towers are broken, many rail tracks are actually damaged. Just because it was limited to Punjab and Haryana, many people didn't pay much attention to it. But now this was a culmination. The mindset is the same which started in the name of anti-CA protest. It culminated in the riots in Delhi. So you manufacture a protest around certain things, you target certain groups with rumor mongering, invoke their passion on certain issues through misinformation campaign, and then try to destabilize the entire democratic process. The ultimate goal is to create apathy and anger against the democratic institutions. And that's why you see, we don't believe in the laws passed by the parliament. We will not listen to the Supreme Court. We will not follow the law and order. And after giving commitments, you know, there were 3 prominent commitments given, though there were 37 conditions for, giving permission to this particular rally. 3 prominent were: 1, the march will start only after 12 o'clock. It started by 10:15, especially from Ghazipur border. The second commitment was they will follow the route assigned by the police. They didn't follow the route. And there was clear-cut assurance that this will be just a peaceful march. And they called it as their Republic Day parade. Now it is clear that they were not interested. So somebody has to pinpoint the responsibility. The people who were giving assurances to the police, to the administration, as well as on the television to the public at large, that we will maintain this peace. Now they should be pinpointed, and they should face the consequences of this unlawful act, the criminal act, the assault on our republic and the spirit of we the people of India.
Absolutely. I want to take that same question across to Sanjay Singh as well. Sanjay Singh, who do you think indulged in wanton violence in the capital this afternoon and evening in the garb of farmers' protest? Now, who was or what was this mob all about that held the city to ransom for several hours on end?
Look how the situation was building. Right from the beginning, there were indications that this farmer movement is actually not a farmer movement. So I would say the so-called farmer movement, the farmer agitation, because the sponsors and masterminds of this farmer agitation were somebody else. People who were either anti-Modi, various anti-Modi forces, or people who were anti-nationals, people who were sitting within the country and people who were sitting outside of the country. So this was not to begin with farmer protest. There may have been some concerns of farming community, but this was propelled by a massive disinformation and misinformation campaign, aroused passions, as Prafulji was saying, and therefore they decided, and also the idea was to create a high publicity campaign whereby the message goes within the country of a confusion that something is wrong. People who actually had not read the 3 laws or had not known about the 3 laws create some kind of confusion. Kuch to garbar hai, something may be wrong with these bills. After all, so many people are protesting against it. And outside of the country, send a message across that Modi government is not as stable as you think. They may be in majority, but then the world was either dictatorial or autocratic, or to create a situation whereby India becomes a disturbed nation. So to keep away the investors who were bouncing off from China, they were coming to India. That is my assessment of the situation. To create a narrative that India was disturbed, don't go to India because India has its own problem. And that in a situation whereby India was moving fast on path of economic recovery. India was doing very well post-COVID, and today we are in a situation standing in frontline countries and earning laurels from across the world that we are going ahead with vaccination program of our own, and the largest number that any country has ever achieved in last so many days. So therefore, to counter that certain narrative and to create a situation whereby there are problems within the country, this whole thing started. Because if you see about this Farm 26 January Republic Day tractor parade or tractor rally, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan slogan suddenly came very handy to people. Right. These were the people who were saying Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, Jawan ke saath Kisan milega, and this is going to be a very peaceful protest. Where are these people who said this is going to be very peaceful? The world will see how peaceful Indian farmers are and how peacefully they can protest. They of course came out with their own excuses, blaming Delhi police, blaming security establishment for creating a situation whereby this kind of violence, I would not say violence, I'll go a bit step forward and say that this massive sabotage and assault on our democracy and democratic institutions which happened today, they of course found an alibi that these are not our people, these are not my people. Who are these people then? Till yesterday, you were leaders of these people. Rahul Gandhi was tweeting and making statements all out in support of farmers. Even today, if you go through Congress, Youth Congress handle and even Rahul Gandhi's handle, you'll actually see that the grand old party is actually provoking farmers to go ahead and whatever the agitationists, I would not say them farmers, the protesters, the disruptionists, and all kinds of elements who had come together. Then you see a situation whereby this Jawan thing, they themselves demolished Jawan, Jai Kisan thing, because they were all out attacking, targeting, and even trying to kill the Jawans, the security people who are managing law and order situation out there. Then assault on Tiranga. You are holding tricolor, so many of them were holding tricolor, but the way tricolor was treated, and the place where Prime Minister unfurls national flag on August 15, that is Red Fort, and at same place they hoisted a flag which is a religious flag, and God forbid that debate is still going on whether that was actually a Sikh religious flag or something else was hoisted on that particular thing. Then Sikh for Justice had claimed that they would reward the person or group of people who are going to hoist that flag. What is this? This is not a farmer protest.
Right.
And the people who are saying they have already chalked out a plan that on 1st of February, when budget is presented, they must to Parliament. Then again, this tractor rally was programmed, planned, and talked about even when the talks between government and the farmers were actually, that process was ongoing. And therefore, I regretfully conclude that these people, there was a great deal of conspiracy behind it, behind whatever happened, a well thought out conspiracy, because people who climbed on ramparts of Red Fort, they also had ropes in their hand to tie the flag that they were carrying. And you see this morning, this whole thing started from Sindhu border at 8 a.m. in the morning.
Right.
They tried to break the barriers out there. And when time was given something else, no tractor entered the route that was mutually agreed between Delhi police and the so-called farm union leaders. Some of them have no mass base, only they are media creations. And they had, and their other leaders had agreed to a plan whereby they would hold tractor rally on those areas. No tractor went on those areas. So it's time that law goes cracking, And the genuine farmers who were misguided to gather here for this protest should think as to what they are doing and return to their places and preferably to their homes.
Indeed. Prafulla Ketkar, Sanjay Singh wants to describe it as a so-called farmers' protest, and he has valid reasons to say that. Now, this protest has completed 62 days tonight, and we are told that this is a leaderless movement or agitation. But several self-styled leaders have popped up in the last 62 days, and they were all over television screens these past several weeks. But none of them were available tonight to speak on the record, to assuage people's fears going forward. Complete radio silence from those self-styled leaders. What do you make of this so-called farmers' protest or farmers' movement, and where might this be headed in the days ahead?
No, they're completely exposed, and they're unmasked, and now they have to face the legal consequences. And if they have little bit of faith in our democratic system, our constitution, our republic, then they should immediately withdraw this movement whatsoever. But why I'm saying so? Because, you know, the faces that talked about, they always try to make this as a peaceful satyagraha kind of movement. I would like to remind them, the master who actually a person who actually mastered this art of satyagraha, Mahatma Gandhi, gave 3 fundamental principles. If there is a satyagraha, there is a protest for certain demand, then there are 3 preconditions, he said. One is the training of the satyagrahis, ownership of that satyagraha by a leader, a clearly identified leader, and the clearly identified objectives. Here, the leaders are not negotiating with the government, but just reiterating as if they have decided something. They are indirectly saying that we don't believe in parliamentary process. In fact, one of the leaders said that parliamentary majority is not a true majority. Then who will decide the true majority? It means you don't believe in the constitutional scheme of things. That's why, you know, this particular movement, as I said, if anti-CA protest resulted into, Delhi riots, now this farmers movement has resulted into, this kind of assault on our republic. And Republic Day, they try to do that. They have to face the consequences. I hope that government will, the indications after evening's meeting at the high level, people in the Home Ministry, that now the clear-cut instructions are given. At the same time, I expect Honorable Supreme Court, because both the government as well as the Supreme Court has been very considerate as far as the farmers' protest is concerned. Now, because Supreme Court has, constituted a certain committee, and now this particular permission was given by Delhi police, now this protest is completely exposed. Now there is a time to intervene and take some remedial course, so that, because no true farmer in India can afford to come out and sit somewhere claiming that I am there with 6 months ration. A person who can't afford to miss out couple of days in his, farming cycle will come out and say, who is funding this?
Right.
Now, intelligence agencies, entire government machinery, as well as the judiciary, has to come out at the same time, at the societal level, at the intellectual level. We need to come out with certain mechanism in a democratic way to handle with this kind of mindset, this kind of misusing democratic institutions and means to disrupt the democracy. This is the classic model of anarchism. and therefore we need a long-term strategy to deal with this. This is a learning example, and
Right.
we should draw our lessons from this and devise a strategy to deal with similar kind of protests in the future.
Indeed. So Prafullo Ketkar say the violence has thoroughly exposed the so-called farmers movement, and one must draw the right lessons from this episode going forward. Now, Sanjay Singh, coming to you now. There have been 11 rounds of talks have taken place so far between the government and the farmers' representatives. Now, looking ahead, do you think the talks will make any headway going forward, or you think it will be a stalemate even if we held any number of talks going forward? Because the farmers say that there are many factions within our movement or agitation, and they are working at cross purposes. So what do you make of the future of the talks, even if they held in the days ahead?
See, the 11 rounds of talks, any talk, Ramesh, is held with an open mind. In
Right.
this particular case, they're always predetermined: repeal or nothing, repeal 3 laws or nothing. We are not going to. The problem arises from there. Now, why are discuss the issues clause by clause, and if there is any issue that is of your concern, which is genuine, we are willing to consider that. But since you don't have to say anything against the law in particular, there is nothing in the law which they can point out that this is wrong. They would say that the intentions of the government is wrong. How do you know intentions of the government? Or how can you make out intentions? You can accuse anybody of any intention, a right person of any wrong intentions, or a wrong person of right intentions. That's a very subjective thing to say.
Right.
But then you would not agree to that. Remember in second or third round, I suppose, in second round of talks, when the 2 union ministers went out and had lunch which farmers had brought. And then there was news that the talks were moving in right directions. And on one issue, the issue has been sorted out, and the other remaining issues will be soon sorted out. And thereafter, during same afternoon, if you remember, the whole lot of the activist Twitters handles that had come up, they started kind of
Right.
accusing or saying things that this is wrong, that this happened, how they humiliated, nothing less than this. And people who are sitting outside, I say the masterminds or sponsors of this particular so-called Kisan movement, by evening, whole thing changed. They said nothing less than, we are not going to accept nothing less than a repeal of the laws. How do you talk to people or negotiate, which is a leaderless government? 40, 50 persons gather for a meeting. They all coming from different areas. They all have small pockets of their own social influence. Unfortunately, there are so many leaders who tried to contest elections and they failed miserably. I'm not going to name them. That's a long series.
Sure.
And one particular gentleman who was not invited in the meeting, but somehow has become one of the supreme leaders of this so-called farmer movements. He was publicly humiliated and thrown out of a political party, a newly formed political party. Thereafter, he tried his own luck in a political party. He changes his position like a chameleon. Now he's a Kisan leader and has friendly relations with so many television channels, and therefore he's a Kisan leader. And he came out with this idea of tractor rally and gave all kinds of promises and talks about democratic institutions and how and what, whether parliament majority is considered a majority or not. You don't trust executive. You'd kind of condemn your executive. The kind of video clips that have been circulated, where Prime Minister Modi is the way, this is a national channel,
Right.
public broadcaster. I will not go into the details, but the details are so bad, it's so pathetic, so condemnable,
Right.
that I will not repeat them. But you are trying to create the hate and venom against elected executive,
Right.
an executive who has come with absolute majority of his own, increased majority. You don't trust, you don't have faith in the parliament, which is legislature, and then you also don't have faith in the judiciary.
Absolutely.
And today, against law enforcement agency, you tried everything possible in the book, to hoodwink, to lie, to deceit. This is completely unacceptable.
Absolutely. Completely unacceptable, says Sanjay Singh. I'm running out of time, so I have to leave it at that. Thank you, both of my guests, Prafulla Ketkar and Sanjay Singh, for joining us on Newsnight tonight. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Right, moving on. India's military might and economic progress were on full display at the 72nd Republic Day celebrations at the majestic Rajpath in New Delhi. A Bangladesh marching contingent took part in the parade for the very first time. Discipline, devotion and dedication of the Indian Armed Forces towards upholding the sovereignty and integrity of the country was on full display at the 72nd Republic Day parade in the capital. The parade was commanded by Lieutenant General Vijay Kumar Mishra, General Officer commanding Delhi area. Paramveer Chakra winners Subedar Major Yogendra Singh Yadav, 18 Grenadiers, and Subedar Sanjay Kumar, 13 Jammu and Kashmir Rifles, and Ashok Chakra winner Lieutenant Colonel D. Sriram Kumar followed the Deputy Parade Commander on jeeps. The Paramveer Chakra is awarded for the most conspicuous act of bravery and self-sacrifice in the face of the enemy. The Ashok Chakra is awarded for similar acts of valor and self-sacrifice, but other than in the face of the enemy. A 122-member contingent of the Bangladesh Armed Forces, comprising soldiers of the Bangladesh Army, sailors of the Bangladesh Navy, and air warriors of the Bangladesh Air Force, led the contingent march on the Rajpath. The Bangladesh contingent carried the legacy of legendary Mukti Jodhas of Bangladesh, who fought against oppression and mass atrocities and liberated Bangladesh in 1971. The first domestic contingent in the uniform of the erstwhile Gwalior Lancers was 61 Cavalry, led by Captain Deepanshu Sharan.
The regiment has won 39 battle orders.
The 61 Cavalry is the only active serving horse cavalry regiment in the world. It was raised on 1st August 1953 with the amalgamation of 6 state forces cavalry units. The Indian Army was also represented by 7 mechanized columns, 6 marching contingents, and flypast by Rudra and Dhruv advanced light helicopters of the Army Aviation. The T-90 Bhishma, indigenously developed main battle tank of the Indian Army, infantry combat vehicle Ballway machine Pikate BMP-2, BrahMos weapon system, the Pinaka multi-launcher rocket system, T-72 bridge-laying tanks, Samvijay electronic warfare system, and Shilka weapon system were the main attractions in the mechanized columns. The other marching contingents of the army included the Jat Regiment, the Garhwal Regiment, the Maha Regiment, the Jammu and Kashmir Rifles Regiment, the Bengal Sappers, and the Territorial Army. The combined band of the Mechanized Infantry Regimental Centre, Para-Regimental Centre, and Jat Regimental Centre, Sikh Regimental Centre, Assam Regimental Centre, Jammu and Kashmir Rifles Regimental Centre, Sikh Light Infantry Regimental Centre, Ladakh Scouts Regimental Centre, and Artillery Centre Nashik Road also marched past the saluting dais. The naval contingent comprised 96 sailors and 4 officers. The Air Force contingent comprised 96 airmen and 4 officers. The Indian Coast Guard contingent took part in the parade too. The Indian Coast Guard keeps the country's maritime frontiers safe and secure. Contingents of Central Reserve Police Force, Indo-Tibetan Border Police, Delhi Police, Border Security Force Camel Contingent
dependable companions in the in-hospital.
and National Security Guard, popularly known as the Black Cat Commandos, also marched past the saluting dais. The National Cadet Corps Boys Marching Contingent and Girls Contingent, besides the National Service Scheme contingent comprising 100 volunteers, took part in the parade. India's military might, cultural diversity, social and economic progress were on display during the 72nd Republic Day celebrations at the majestic Rajpath in New Delhi. It showcased India's strides in indigenous defense technologies. News Night Desk, DD India. And marching contingents of the National Cadet Corps displayed youth power at the 72nd Republic Day parade at Rajpath. The girls' NCC marching contingent was led by Senior Under Officer Samriddhi Harshal Sant of the NCC Directorate, Maharashtra. The contingent consisted of 100 senior wing cadets from 17 directorates of the NCC. The cadets excelled in various adventure activities such as mountaineering, rafting and paragliding. The boys' NCC marching contingent was led by Senior Under Officer Ranjit Singh Gurjar of NCC Directorate, Rajasthan. The contingent comprised 100 young and smart cadets drawn from 17 NCC directorates. The cadets excelled in humanitarian aid, sports and adventure activities. The NCC has nearly 14 lakh cadets on its rolls. It's at the forefront of nation building through youth power with a commitment to character and community development, leadership and adventure. And before the start of the parade at the Red Fort, Prime Minister Narendra Modi led the nation to pay tributes to the warriors who laid down their lives for securing and protecting the sovereignty of the nation.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi led the nation in paying tributes to the martyrs by offering a wreath at the National War Memorial at the India Gate. The guard commander gave salute while bugles sounded the last post. The officers in uniform saluted and others were stood in attention. After the last post, a 2-minute silence was observed. The buglers sounded the ruse and the guard commander ordered Salami Shastra salute with arms to mark the completion of the 2-minute silence.
Sounding the rouse, the guard commander ordering
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat, Indian Army Chief General M.M. Narvane were present at the occasion. News Night Desk, DD India.
And now take a look at the tableau that floated down the Rajpath, each with a distinct theme of its own.
Tableau of states and union territories and different ministries mesmerized everyone present on Rajpath. A total of 32 tableaux with 17 from states and union territories, 9 from various ministries or departments and paramilitary forces and 6 from the Ministry of Defence were rolled down the Rajpath. Some of the highlights of the tableau were Vision for Carbon Neutral Ladakh. The tableau of the Union Territory of Ladakh was appreciated by everyone. This time, glimpse of India's cultural and folk tradition and incredible arts was seen on Rajpath, whether be the Sun Temple of Modhera, Gujarat or the cultural heritage and values of Ayodhya, all were portrayed The significance of Indian culture has been portrayed in all the tableau. In the tableau from Punjab, the 400th Vikas Parv of Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji was displayed. In Andhra Pradesh's tableau, Lepakshi's Vastu was displayed. Tableau from Uttarakhand, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Tripura, West Bengal, Sikkim, Delhi, Karnataka, and choir of Kerala, and tableau from Arunachal Pradesh were also rolled down on the Rajpath. Tea tribes of Assam, splendorous sounds of Chhattisgarh's folk music were portrayed in the state's tableau. Digital Bharat, 4 labour codes, Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, New India, Vocal for Local, and CRPF and border road organizations tableau took part in the parade. Bureau Report, DD India.
The Ministry of Information and Broadcasting depicted the Vocal for Local initiative of the government in its tableau during the parade. The tableau depicted India's remarkable achievement in successfully producing world-class products in spheres such as automobiles powered by green technology. Apart from highlighting the local and traditional products such as spinning wheel and pottery, the tableau depicted the incredible success of the BrahMos supersonic missile systems, which have unmatched technological superiority in the world. And now take a look at how Republic Day was celebrated in the states and union territories across the country. Here are some images. Right, so on your screens are 6 images from the states of Uttar Pradesh, starting from the top left corner of your screens: Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, and going clockwise, Tamil Nadu, Goa and Odisha, those 6 states where Republic Day celebrations were held as well, besides other states and union territories. Also, these are images from Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, going all the way across to east where West Bengal is concerned, and then Chhattisgarh and Telangana as well. So, Republic Day festivities celebrated across the country with traditional fervor and gaiety. And now to the images from Punjab, Arunachal Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Tripura, Lakshadweep and Mizoram in the northeast as well. Also, Assam, Manipur, Sikkim in the northeast, followed by Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Andaman and Nicobar Islands and Uttarakhand. Around 200 artists of Republic Day Parade were stranded since 12 noon near Red Fort due to the tractor rally. They've now been rescued by the Delhi police. All such people left safely from the mess in Daryaganj for Rashtriya Rangshala camp at Dhaulakua under a Delhi police's escort vehicle and a CRPF personnel as well who escorted them to safety. And after the parade by the army and paramilitary columns, the tableau and cultural performances came the showstopper moment of the 72nd Republic Day celebrations. Rafale jets, the most modern fighter jet in the Indian Air Force, enthralled people with a fly past.
absolutely gravity-defying aircraft.
The Rafales, which were inducted into the Indian Air Force last year, performed a flypast by carrying out the vertical Charlie formation.
Carrying out a vertical Charlie.
Now, a Rafale jet with 2 Jaguar deep penetration strike aircraft and 2 MiG-29 air superiority fighters conducted the Eklavya formation at a height of 300 meters at a speed of 780 kilometers per hour. The parade culminated with a single Rafale aircraft flying at a speed of 900 kilometers per hour, carrying out a vertical Charlie. The aircraft was piloted by Group Captain Harkirat Singh, Shaurya Chakra, commanding officer of 17th Squadron, with squadron leader Kisle Kant. And 5 Rafale fighter planes were formally inducted into the IAF in September last year. India bought the fighter jets from France. A total of 38 Indian Air Force aircraft participated in the flypast this year.
And the 2 wingmen will split. Watch the leader.
And President Ramnath Kovind hosted an at-home reception on the Republic Day at Rashtrapati Bhavan. The reception was attended by Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar, Law Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad, Minister of Railways, Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal, Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar, Petroleum Minister Dharmendra Pradhan. Besides, 3 service chiefs and the Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat also attended the reception. Right, so these are the visuals from the at-home reception hosted by President Kovind at Rashtrapati Bhavan this afternoon on the occasion of the 72nd Republic Day. Right, time now for all the news related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Take a look at the latest coronavirus data from India and how India compares to the world.
India continues to fight the COVID-19 pandemic with all its might. India has crossed a crucial milestone in its fight against the global pandemic. The daily new cases have touched a new low. With a sustained, proactive and calibrated strategy of the centre based on whole of government and whole of society approach, the daily new cases have seen a consistent decline. This has ensured a steady fall in daily fatalities too. 9,102 daily new cases were added to the national tally in the last 24 hours after 237 days. The daily new cases were 9,304 on the 4th of June 2020. The government has recorded less than 120 fatalities in the last 24 hours after more than 8 months. India's active caseload has fallen to 1,77,266. The share of active cases in the total positive cases is further compressed to 1.66% of the cumulative caseload. A net decline of 6,916 cases has been recorded in the total active cases in the last 24 hours. The total recovered cases are 1,345,985, which translates to a recovery rate of 96.90%. The gap between recovered cases and active cases continues to grow and presently stands at 1,168,719. India's cases per million population is also amongst the lowest in the world. Active cases per million population is lowest in the world. Germany, Russia, Brazil, Italy, UK and USA have much higher cases per million population. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
And it's a wrap, but news continues here on DD India. You can catch all the latest updates on our social media, mobile and digital platforms. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.